My name is Charles Toyoji Ijima. Charles Toyoji, Toyoji. Ijima is Ijima.
Thank you very much. Which branch of the service were you in?
I was in the 232nd Combat Engineers Company, which was part of the 442nd Regimental Combat Team.
And what was your branch of service, sir?
What branch of service? Like Army? Or what branch of service?
Branch of service, it's in the Army.
Can you tell me that?
Don't talk to him. Tell him.
What was your branch of service?
Tell him. The Army. Army.
Army,
Okay, that's good. And then what was your final rank? What was your rank?
private.
Private. Okay, sir. Is that you left the service as a private then? Is that correct? That's right. Go
You
ahead.
left as a private. Yeah.
Yeah, I left the Army as a private.
Excellent. And so, where were you born and raised, sir?
Where were you born and raised?
I was born on the island of Kauai, plantation town of Makawele.
What? And so, and how did you learn about the attack on Pearl Harbor, sir?
How did you learn about the attack on Pearl Harbor?
Well, it was Sunday, and we were, at home, and it came over the radio, and that was it. We couldn't go anywhere.
You're doing great. I just want to. I'm sorry. Could you tell me again about how did you learn about the attack on Pearl Harbor?
It was broadcasted on the radio, and we got word of it, and so everything, we couldn't do anything. We had to stay home.
Okay. And how did your family react? What did,
My family, they didn't say too much because they didn't know anything about it.
you guys were isolated then. You're very isolated from the information.
Well, we live on a plantation, and we were in a camp, and so when the war broke out, my father and mother, they don't understand English now, so they had to wait for the news on the Japanese broadcast news.
That makes sense. Yeah, let me adjust this camera just slightly. Hold on, sorry. Make sure we have you framed up right. Okay. Did your family get ordered into an internment camp?
Did your family have to go to the internment camp?
My family did not. They were, still in the same old house and lived in the same old camp. The ones that had to be relocated to the camps were usually leaders of the community, school teachers, the principal, the priest, the head priest of the Buddhist temple, people like that. My father and mother, they work on a plantation. They needed laborers too, so I don't think too many of the regular laborers were relocated to the mainland.
Right. Okay. And then, what was your reaction when you found out about the camps? What did you What was your reaction?
What did you think about the internment camps?
Well, the internment camp now, okay? When I was in Camp Shelby training, we had an opportunity to visit those camps. I visited two camps, Roa in Arkansas, I think, and Jerome. And when I went to visit, the people from Hawaii, they were more or less put in one section. And so well, naturally, they're from Hawaii, so we went to visit with them. And actually, they call it relocation camp, but to me, it was like a regular, I don't know what they call it, stalag or whatever. And they had guards with guns now, and barbed wire fence around the whole camp. And they weren't allowed to do a lot of things. Of course, most of the people who were there were from the mainland. Hawaii people was not too many. But they were people, like I say, prominent people with influence and things like that.
Okay. Yeah. When did you join the service? How long after Pearl Harbor did you? How long? Tell me about when you joined the service and why.
Well, when the war broke out, I was not quite 18 now, okay? I was still 17. When they had requests for volunteers from Hawaii, I'm talking about the Nisei boys now. So I asked my father, to sign the application to give me permission so I can volunteer. And so my father, although he cannot speak and read English, he could sign his initial, signature. So he signed that application for me. And so I made 18 when they called us into that service. And that's when from Kauai, I volunteered. And then we were taken to Schofield barracks, and eventually we went to Camp Shelby, Mississippi.
Well, must have been quite a journey at that time. Were you determined to prove your commitment to America, or was it just why did you want to serve? What was your motivation?
If I was committed to,
Why did you want to join the service?
Was it
well, for one thing, I was a young boy now. All my friends were volunteering, and to tell you the truth, on Kauai, where we lived, we had no public transportation during that time. We can't go nowhere. There was a 10 o'clock curfew. You had to go home. You cannot stay out beyond 10 o'clock at night. It was blackout. There was no theater. There was hardly any kind of entertainment. And so I guess, all the young boys figured to volunteer. All my friends were going in the service too, so I
I think you mentioned this, but where did you ultimately go for your training? Your training, was that at Schofield or on the mainland? I think you said.
Was your training in Schofield or Shelby, Mississippi?
No, the training, we were just relocated to Schofield to be equipped to travel. So once we were all given our equipment, we were given orders to report to Camp Shelby, and so we were shipped over to the United States and taken to Camp Shelby.
And what was that? What was that like? Being in Mississippi, training there. What was? Tell me about that.
Well, when we were home, before we went to Mississippi, well, we heard a lot of things about Mississippi, being prejudiced about this and that. And when we went there, the first impression I had was it was true. I saw, a colored soldier now. He's in a uniform just like me. We waiting for the bus. When the bus came, they let me on. They wouldn't let him in. They said, wait for the next bus. So I was thinking, what is this? But when we were stationed in Shelby, a businessman from Harrisburg, the nearest big town, he kind of looked after our boys, So whenever we got into any kind of a trouble, we went to see him, and he would contact the proper people to try to kind of settle the issue, which was good. But it was the beginning, and it wasn't too long before we finished our basic training, and we got shipped over.
And so, so you're assigned to the 232nd, and of the 442nd, and what kind of work did you do once you got there? What kind of work were you trained as, and what were you doing?
Well, the 232nd Engineer Company, we were we were the excuse me.
You want some water or something?
The first and only company, all Japanese these days, top to bottom. The other companies in the 442 combat team, they had Caucasian officers, as well as Nisei officers. And so our captain, he said we are unique.
But you wait, and we'll get you some water, okay?
Anyway, when we went to Europe,
We're gonna take.
It sounds like your wife is getting you some water.
We're gonna get you something to drink first.
whatever. But anyway,
No, you said wait.
It sounds like that.
oh,
No,
okay.
maybe not. Can I get?
Yeah, there's a bottle in his box.
Yeah, yeah. I think he wants. You want a drink too?
What's that?
Did you need a drink too?
No, not me. No,
Oh,
I was
okay.
just wanted him to be able to have something. So. Oh, I thought Can you get a glass of water for him? Oh, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, just getting it. So.
There's a bottle of water.
I wonder if there's something we can set that on too. We get you something to drink.
Here. I was going to get much really, but I'm going to take some more.
Yeah, or maybe back here.
Yeah, I just didn't want to.
Yeah, yeah. We can do it at the end. Yeah, we can do it at the end. Yeah. Ah, very good.
So he wanted to know what did the 232nd engineers get trained to do, and what did you guys do also? Oh, wait,
Okay.
not yet.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yep.
Ready? our engineer company, when we were assigned to combat duty, we were basically in charge of clearing the roadway so food can and ammunition can go up the road and bring back the wounded from the front. So our job was to make sure that the forest, we were fighting in forest areas, so the road is all muddy all the time. It's not macadamized, it's all dirt. So it gets very muddy because of the traffic. Our job, we had to lay wooden plank on the road so that the vehicle can go up and down, you know. And sometimes when the infantry needed help, we were required to maintain combat position to help the infantry. But mostly our job, we were the only company now doing engineering work, so our job was to keep the road clear.
What about the mines? The mines?
Oh, as far to keep the road clear, we also had to do a lot of mine work. Not just laying our mines, but clearing the enemy. They had all kinds of mines, you know. They had mines made of metal, wood, glass, ceramic, plastic, you know. They were large mines for heavy equipment, and they were also smaller mines for personnel. And our job was to clear that up. So we had mine sweeper. Excuse me. But basically, a lot of time we had to go by and probe with a dagger. And it was all mossy, so the Germans used to bury it under the moss. But we got through it.
Sounds like dangerous work. Very dangerous work. What, so would you have preferred to fight in the Pacific rather than go to Europe?
War is war, okay? No matter where you go, war is not a pretty thing. We happened to go to Europe. If they had sent us to the Pacific, well, we would have been doing the same kind of work. I mean, only thinking a different area.
So you didn't have a preference. You just wanted to help and
You didn't care where you got sent. You didn't care where they sent you to fight. You didn't care.
No, I mean, hey, we are under the command of the higher ups now. You go where they tell you to go.
So, when did you get to Europe, and where did you start? Tell me about that whole process about coming to Europe and where you landed, and then you know, was it in Italy? Did you start in Italy?
When did you get to Europe and where?
Eh?
What year did you get to Europe and where in Europe?
Well, we started the campaign in Italy. We landed in Naples, and then we went up north from there. We went to Anzio, landed there. We went and joined the 100 right past Rome. And then we went to Genoa and then into the Po Valley. And then they sent us to Europe to France from there. And we went up to Bruyères, Menton, up in that area, the Vosges Mountain or whatever. And then they pulled us back and we went back to Italy. And when we went back to Italy, we had to fight for the mountaintops because that's where the German troops were. And that was by Genoa area. And we took all our objectives, and then we went back to Italy, to France. And that way we had the 36th Division and the Lost Battalion thing happened. And we were engineers. We had to make sure the road was clear so that the attacking boys can, take ammunition, food, and bring out the wounded, and did. And when the rescue happened, our squad happened to be there, right where this thing happened. And I remember when the boys were stuck on the hilltop, the division commander, the general, with his aide and the driver of his jeep, three of them went right up to the platoon level, And what happened was that the aide, he got killed. And so when they were coming back, instead of three of them, only two came back, So everybody was wondering what happened to the other guy. And the other guy was a major, that went with him. His top aide, I guess, and the sergeant was his driver. Everybody stayed. That dummy, what the heck you doing way up there, But I guess the general was worried, his boys was stuck up maybe in a hill, so he wanted to do something, but he was no help.
Was that your first encounter with combat, or what was your first interaction where you saw battle, and then what was tell me about what you encountered and what the other soldiers were like, the Germans.
What was the first encounter with the fighting, and what were the German soldiers like?
Being an engineer, we hardly do the actual fighting. The infantry in the front of us. We are in the back of them, supporting them, you know. Our job, a lot of time when we go on the line, that means we hold a defensive position instead of offensive. The offensive is it's a regular infantry boys that do the attacking. So when in combat, our job is make sure, you know, like I say, they can move forward without getting blown up with mines, you know. And they can have hot meals if possible. Yeah.
So what was the first time you guys saw the fighting, and what were the German soldiers like?
The German soldiers hey, they had good soldiers in front of us now. But our you know, U.S. Army, they were bombarding the place with artillery, you know, night and day. The Germans, a lot of them, they were wounded. The place was so hot. They couldn't go and even get this wounded out. And not only that, lot of the German troops were being killed. And so there weren't too many left when we were there. They were trying to establish a defensive line by the Rhone River, the Rhine River, or whatever. And where we were fighting was like a delayed action, I think, because from there it goes down into the valley to the river. And so our job was to try to take that before winter. But it was cold already. And snow was beginning to fall. But, you know, the German troops, nobody would say, hey, they're no good, you know. They're good. But, I mean, you know, superiority in numbers, I guess. Yeah. Americans had a lot of troops. But the division we were attached to, they were getting wiped out. So they may be called a division, but actually in numbers, the number of troops that was left, there was it wasn't a division. And not only them, even our companies, at one time, you know, we go down, my squad, we had a lot of get wounded, you know. So we got to wait until they come back and get replacement and stuff like that. Same thing with the whole company for the infantry. It was a bad time of the war for us. In combat, that's where we suffered the most. Most of the other places where we went to, we were held in a defensive position. So we have a foxhole, and you know, the infantry is dug in. But this, like when you're on the offense, you're out in the open a lot of the time now, until you can have time to dig your foxhole. We suffered while we were fighting in that area. One of our boys got killed stepping on a mine. and a lot of them get wounded with other mines. You know. They have this kind of a bouncing baby, they call it. You know. The mine, when it is activated, it has a charge. It blows the inner section up, and when the thing goes up in the air, it explodes. With at the beginning, they used to use ball bearings, you know, but as the war went on, I guess they ran out of ball bearings, so they used chopped up metal, you know, they just put it on it. So when the thing explodes, all these metals flying all over the place, and if you happen to be close by, that's it. You get it, you know. And a lot of time it won't kill you, but it would wound you enough so you're no longer there. They have to take you to the rear. And the Germans, in a lot of occasions, they purposely wound you. So you know, they all get involved now, and you got to evacuate that person and do all that, but he's not fighting. It was a strategy that they were trained to do.
Where was the toughest fighting that you saw? Where was the toughest toughest spot?
The toughest fighting was in the area of Bruges, in the north. Other than that, we went down south after that, out by Menton area where Monte Carlo is, between the border of Italy and France. There's a mountain, and the 442nd 100 were up on the top of the ridge as a defensive, not as a offensive at that time. You know, our job was to just be on the defense. Engineers were there to lay mines, and so we used to lug mines up the mountain and lay mines to help protect the American troops.
So the 442nd experienced pretty dramatic losses. Lots of men died. How were you able to keep your spirits up fighting through the war with so many of your friends? And
you mean about what? Death?
How were you able to continue? How were you able to continue with all the dead and all that?
Well, I mean, when you go up in the front, you see a lot of dead, not just your enemy, you know, in a combat zone. Our medics, you know, they involved in bringing out the wounded. Our squad, when they happened to be clearing the road, and here the medic came by, you know, and an American soldier was in the leader. The leader bearers said, "This guy is gone." They just left it over there, you know. And then that poor guy was shot right in the neck, hit his jugular vein. And so what we did, we just cover him, you know. And they have so-called grave registration people. They come and pick the body and take it to the rear. And I guess they handled that, you know. But you don't know what's going to happen until it happens. Like I say, in the same area that where our boy stepped on the mine. And right past that, that's where the Lost Battalion thing was being fought for. And this guy, he was killed trying to save the guys, you know. Quite a number of for 200 died there. He's trying to. These boys that was so-called, they call it lost. There weren't too many guys left now, and they were all dug in. You know, after the war, I mean, after the combat, when we went to look at the place, they had foxhole. They dig underneath the big old pine tree because there are all pine trees growing there, you know. But they were all, you know, well dug in. And the poor infantry, they're out in open. There's no foxhole for them. They're attacking, you know. And, well, I was in there to do the attack, but we were right in the back of them. You can hear all the noise, you know. When that happened, all the machine gun, rifle, the noise, you know. So when everything got quiet, that's when the thing was, the battle was over, and so all the wounded started coming back out, you know. There was a bad place to be in.
Let's see. Hang on here. Let's see. So, you received a Purple Heart and you were wounded in battle?
Did you receive a Purple Heart?
No,
And when they were-
I'm going to tell you something. I always tell people I'm one of the luckiest guy. I went in the service from a small little town. I went through training without being, you know, in any trouble. I went to war. I came back without a scratch. I get my GI Bill. I went to college. Then I, you know, graduated. Got a good job in the firehouse. I'm retired. I've been retired for over 40 years. So, but I'm only talking for myself. A lot of my friends never made it back. Almost everybody in my company got minor wound and some serious, but they all survived. In our squad, not one died from combat, which was good, but they got a lot of wounded. My sergeant, he was from Montana, Whitefish, Montana. We laid the mine, you know, minefield. He said, okay, all you guys stay clear. I'm going to activate the mine now. So he went and the mines were marked with pine leaf, palm leaf. And so after he activated the mine, he threw the thing, and the thing kind of sailed because, the way it was. And the thing landed right on the wire, on the tripwire. And good thing it was a terraced area, where we had the mine. When the thing exploded, we thought, oh, there goes our sergeant. He had a shrapnel wound right by the eyebrow, We told him, hey, Sakahara, his name was Sakahara, last name, We told him, hey, Sak, his short name. You better take it easy, let somebody else activate the rest, He says, no. He said, if I don't do it, next time I won't be able to do it. So he said, I'm going to finish it up. And so he wouldn't let anybody else go, And he's our sergeant. The sergeant can point finger and tell, hey, you go, But no, he says, I'll do it. Yeah, he was a terrific guy. We had 3 million boys in our squad, and we got along really good, One from Montana, one from San Diego, one from Colusa. I guess that's California. They were growing rice, he said. But anyway, that was our squad only now. But we had a good mix of, mainland, outside island. We had an officer from Texas. And they say,
So, as you were doing your service, did you have knowledge about the Allied forces the progress they were making? And then did you also see a change in the way that the Germans were fighting towards the end of the war? As the war got close to the end, did you know it was coming to an end? Or tell me about how you were getting the information and how you knew what was going on.
Well, our level, we gotta listen to the upper echelon, To me, army, the service, is like anything else, a lot of politics involved. Like General Mark Clark in charge of Fifth Army, he did not like the idea, the 442 going to Europe. But the command in Europe was higher than him, I think. So they had the power to send us there. But then we went back to Italy because Mark Rockwell wanted us back, And I'm quite sure they're all looking for promotion. And so why is it that we got to do the initial attack in almost every occasion? They got a lot of the army now, get maybe four divisions under his command. He can use a lot of, others, but no. They always look for somebody who can do the job, make them look good, I think. And I think it's true. When we were in Italy, we were with the 92nd Division, you know. And you know what that is, eh? 92nd is all colored. The top is white, you know, but I'm talking about the whole. So, when we were there, they were with us, or we were with them. And when we left them, we went to France. And then, when we returned to Italy, hey, the line was still the same when we left the first time. And then, from there, we had to attack. And our job was to attack something like this kind of hill, you know. They couldn't break through that line while we were gone. When we went back, the general, you know, he said, hey, and it's on the mountain, the 92nd, they're on the left, then the low area, you know. And they couldn't move ahead until we took the time. Our job, we had to go and support the infantry. Our squad, early in the morning, you know, they said, hey, tomorrow morning they're going to push off 7:30 or something. So they burn this smoke pot, you know, smoke screen the low part so the enemy cannot see. And so they told us, okay, get into position. So our squad, yeah, we went up, and then we had to climb up the mountain trail. Hey, it's a tiny, you know. You fall, you're gonna go down. But anyway, we went, and what they couldn't take, our U.S., yeah, the whole Fifth Army bombarded the mountain. When they got through bombarding the thing with everything they had, then they said, okay, start the offense. Yeah, and I think 7 o'clock or 7:30 it started. 9:30, all the objective was taken. We were on the top of the ridge, you know, and hey, we're getting shelled now, and that mountain top is not dirt now, granite. There's no place to dig a trench over there. We had to just lie down and hope nothing hit us. But then after a while, we went down to the little town on the lower set. But that where, yeah, we followed the infantry, you know. So when we went, it was safe in the infantry, cleared the place. But that is going into the Po Valley, you know. You go to Genoa, Alexandria, or whatever, eat a lot of rice. You know, Po Valley, they grow a lot of rice. The boys, they were able to trade cigarettes for rice, you know. We take our duffel bag, you know, and we give the farmer the kind of cigarette that nobody wants, you know. and we tell them, hey, exchange that for rice. So they come back with, the duffel bag. Hey, maybe half a bag. So we have guys cooking rice in a gallon can. Hey, we all sit around the Bunsen burner or whatever. As soon as the thing is cooked, hey, they dig in and then we have canned corned beef. They come with a ration. Corned beef. They go in a field, steal some onion. But in wartime, those were the good old days. No combat. We were sitting down, eating rice with corned beef and cabbage, or corned beef and onion. That area is a lot of fun, They grow a lot of cabbage to make sauerkraut, and onion. So, because of the war, the farmers, they relocate to safe area, and so in the field, there's whatever is there is yours, So we used to help ourselves. They even have potato, We used to tell the cook, hey, give us oil, We used to make French fry or whatever, deep fried the potato. Hey, the potato, they just go like this, you chop it up, throw it in a can of oil, hot oil. And we all sit down. As soon as the thing is ready, we all digging,
Did you folks ever know what the Allied troops were doing?
Huh?
Did you folks ever know what the Allied troops were doing?
The Allied troop, usually we at the front, So, what the Allies are following us, but the point, of attack, the 442 and 100 is always involved. We were Fifth Army, okay? The British 8th Army was on our right, going up north, So like when we were approaching Florence, the British were to our right, and we were left of them. But when you say British, they got all kinds of. They had Maoris from New Zealand or whatever, They had from India, Sikh. They get a beard, They had all kind of. They even had when they captured the enemy, the German army, they were using a lot of other countries' troops. And so, from the German army, when they get captured, they go into the British 8th Army, like the Romanians or whatever, they get the Europeans, they put them all in one day, and they got to fight for the English side now.
So tell me about the end of the war, and your experience with the end of the war. So
End of the war?
Yeah. Talk me through that.
Well, when the war ended, everybody was so happy, We were, at that time, down south of, uh, of France. Yeah. And, and so we all talking about going home. But it took quite a while before that happened. We had to have replacement, and they were sending replacement from Shelby. Our regiment, two battalions were 442. The third one was 100. Yeah. Three battalions made the division. One battalion of our 442 was kept in Shelby to send replacement from that. And so when the war was over, we were in the area of Nice, yeah, in the south. Well, war can be over, but I mean, to us it was like over before that already. If we were able to go on pass, we used to go to Monte Carlo. It was illegal for us to go into Monte Carlo, but the road, yeah, one side is Monte Carlo, the other side is Beausoleil, they call it, which is French. Yeah. So we said we're going to Beausoleil, but we used to, but you cannot do anything in Monte Carlo those days, wartime, But at least we were able to enjoy, pass. We can go to Nice, walk the promenade down by the beach, and you can eat civilly cooking, stuff like that. But when you come time to go and fight, then you got to go again. But we were lucky. Our engineers, we were in the kind of position where we can enjoy a hot meal, stuff like that. Other people, they got to eat, that cold ration in a box.
So what about the then? You stayed in Europe for a little while, and then you came home. And then what was that like?
Well, when we were taken back to Italy, then they had point system. If you had medal, you get so many points. If you get wounded, you get so many points, stuff like that. And so we were kept in what they call the repo depot or whatever, in Legon, waiting for our ship to be available. So those with high point, they went first. But in a sense, it was a pretty good place because you could drink beer and you can eat sandwich, for, I think beer was 10 cents. The sandwich was 15 cents. Yeah. So for 25 cents, you get a sandwich and a beer. But to get in, you need a pass. It was enclosed. But what they used to do, The guys who have the pest, yeah, they get in, then the pest under the fences, and we used to use that to go in. But at least we were able to have, corned beef sandwich and stuff like that.
So then your ship came and you were taken home, and then where did you come in the United States, and how were you?
We were,
like
yeah.
heroes?
Finally, when we got on board, we were taken to Newport News, or whatever you call it, New York, New Jersey. And then there was a camp over there where you turn in whatever they tell you, and then they give you a hot bath, hot shower, change of clothes and stuff like that. And then some people were shipped over by train. Some were lucky to fly over. But not all. One load of plane crashed, and some of the poor soldiers that were ready for discharge got killed, in California. We went back by train.
And how were you treated when you got back? Were the Japanese soldiers, when they got back, were they treated badly, and how did that?
You mean when we got back to Hawaii? You mean?
Well, we're in California.
In California.
United States, back to the.
In California, when we were there, we were allowed to go out any old time. So we used to go out, and a lot of people waiting to come home. So we go here, go there, You want to drink beer, you go in a place to drink. And drinks were coming from all over when we were in California. Because a lot of soldiers who were already discharged, if they're in a bar, you don't buy, they tell, hey, buddy, and they give you six pack, not one. Yeah, I noticed a lot of places, that's the way, even in Alaska, when they give you, they buy six, they put six in front of you. But anyway, we were there, finally we got home. And when I went home, there's no bus, like I say, on Kauai, so we were hitchhiking. And people on Kauai knew we were all beginning to return from, from the war, so